connected to what I truly am. And I can change that. And you can, as I'm learning more and more about how a master does do that. And this is to help you, assist you in that journey today. Starting off, if you realize you are an emotional, spiritual energy field, and that you are spirit, and that is what we are going to eventually returning to spirit. Your physical body is a thought form that you thought and thought and thought until it finally became a conscious thing that became denser in energy. And you can do the reverse as we move back into our mastership of our spirit and emotions and our feelings and essence of who we are. So as we are going to be changing our thoughts to create more spirit in our lives rather than the denser energy. And to do that is to know that many, many lifetimes that you've had on the planet Earth in third dimension have kept you very anchored into the darkness. And you people in this room have been waking up in various stages and levels over the last several years, learning how to move out of that darkness through various sources of going to spiritual groups, reading spiritual books, and participating in channelings like you are today, where spirit can work on you and raise your consciousness, raise your spirit and energy into higher realms, which is what, when you listen to this on the internet, it is called channeling from higher realms. Now you see that's where you're going, and that's where you belong, and that's part of the trip back to the oneness of God. And when you learn to master your emotions, you have come into the fifth dimension. Now it's possible to realize that our third dimensional portals have closed. That was what 2012 was about. And you have moved into this energy that is expanding and enlarging and growing closer and closer into the oneness of God. You see, the darkness was the separation from God, which was very low in energy vibration. It was like being in the basement, you might say, or the dungeon. You're thinking in those days when life was not as easy in many ways as it is today, earlier civilizations, it was more difficult. And so many things happened in different cultures in past thousands of years that brought you unkind karma to have to balance out at this point, and now is the time to finally finish balancing any unfinished business. So as you have some unfinished things to look at, they aren't always pretty. But I would like to encourage you to embrace the feeling of whatever it is, because it's part of you. And what has happened with the culture was they've taught you not to love yourself, but to love money, to love your job, to love others, to love animals. All these things are wonderful things to love, and they're all part of God. But the real essence of focus needs to be inside. So with your focus outside, you were in the darkness. And as you bring your focus inside, we are going to be moving closer and closer into the more and more light in your life to see how those things that you reacted to from your fear and from trying to protect yourself or be safe or to take care of yourself, or the revengeful thoughts and actions you took in past lives, were maybe necessary. And if some of those creep up in your lives the next few weeks, throughout this next year, they're coming up for them to be finally healed. I would like to give you an example of Marilyn's situation, just so that you can maybe relate. She just recently found out, through many hours of meditation and spiritual self-searching, that even though her father did beat up her mother on a fairly nightly basis, and she was witness one night to that visually, and as a little 3-year-old, she thought she would be beat up herself and he would come in and hurt her, and she was so scared she put herself in a little shell of protection and kept herself isolated in that shell, thinking that if she was tight enough and small enough in that shell, her father would not find her and she would be safe from being physically hurt. Now this has perpetuated her many experiences throughout this life. This is not a past life experience, but a current life situation that she picked up as a child, which was necessary to also balance some past karma, but it was necessary to act it out in a current situation to bring it to her attention. As she has spent most of her life shielding herself, she discovered, from the love of her father, who never did hurt her, never meant to hurt her, and it was the arguments were between her mother and her father and had nothing to do with her, but as a little girl she didn't realize that. So she did not know that her father's love for her was genuine, and he treated her that way, took her places, went on trips, and provided funds for her to be able to support herself throughout her life and get to college and all the things necessary for her to do. And she was always afraid to be around him, and yet he was providing love. She discovered her life was really quite full of many wonderful experiences and people, but in her shell she could not take it in because she was still protecting herself, trying not to be hurt. Because she thought she would be hurt, she attracted a marriage of being hurt. You see, if you don't heal these things, you attract them over and over until it gets your attention. So her whole life was raised in the misunderstanding, and she kept herself out of the real true love that was the only love in her life, because her stepdad also treated her like he treated her mother, and there were beatings, and there was incest and various things that went on, and she was trying to protect herself through all these things through her emotional wall that she put around her. When she came into the understanding finally that he never came into the room to hurt her, never came in and touched her, never ever treated her like that. It had nothing to do with her, and all this time she was hiding out from the love that was there for her and could not take it in and enjoy it. And that's an example of what's been going on in many lives. Maybe you know of the walls going on around you, and you have not let God's love in because you were afraid that something was going to hurt you or bother you or be harmful to you, and so you have kept your walls up. And you have surrounded yourself from the love you truly want. It has not really been the problem you thought it was, but it became worse of a problem because it continued in your life until you could finally see the truth. The truth will set you free. When Marilyn realized the truth, she felt very embarrassed how much she was not able to actually participate in the love she was always looking for, and was not able to enjoy and be part of, and her energy could not move in and out of the walls that she had up. And so therefore she was missing out on what she even wanted in the first place. So you see, when you come to understand that these experiences you've been through, there were angels around, there was protection, there always was a safe place for her. And it was not meant for her to be in harm, but she didn't know that. So it's a matter of seeing past that. You're opening your eyes to the great reality that's been buried below those circumstances, and seeing that God was always there, and letting the light of God shine through the barriers you have built to protect yourself. The obstacles that you have put up saying, I don't want to be hurt, so I'm going to save myself or protect myself through not letting myself have feelings. I will be numb and I will not feel this. But you see, the spirit is feelings, and if the spirit is not moving, and we described that in the last channeling, and if you didn't miss it, I would encourage you to hear it. If you do not thaw out those feelings, you cannot have the spirit flow through you so you can move into fifth dimension where is joy. So what I'm saying is you that have had very difficult experiences actually have a benefit. Those that have come in this lifetime and have had just minor things to clear up will have the experience and expansion of feelings into the degree of what their depth of their pain was. Those of you with very deep painful experiences, and some of you know in this room whom I'm talking to, are going to feel the total joy, bliss, and magnificence of who you are as you move up the ladder. Some people call it Jacob's ladder. As you release and let go and let God come in and replace those old ideas, those old fears. In fact, what you need to look at, and I suggest that you go back, when did you feel shame? When did you feel grief or depression? When did you feel those things? And look at them and see how you can shine the light of God on those so they can be dispelled and the truth can finally come out and they will no longer keep you in that darker, lower consciousness, because God consciousness is a high vibration. It's a high consciousness. As you release each and every false belief, false idea, misinformation, anything that is not of the truth, because that's what you were taught, it might not be the truth. To check it out, look for the truth in all things. Look for God in all things. And as you change those perceptions, as you change those ideas, all your old ideas have to be changed into the light to see where God always was there for you, always was there protecting you, and it was just your misperception. That your ego came up and said, I will protect you, I'll keep you in this dark place, and now you can say, ego, you did a very good job, and I appreciate that you were there to help me when I needed your help, but today I choose to be healthy and whole and let the light of God shine on all parts of my life. I am going to abandon myself totally to the God within that is the light of the world and move into the grace that manifests. So as you're moving up the emotional scale out of those darker, lower, denser vibrations, energy, and your energy is now moving up into the willingness to look at some of those things that might still be a little painful, but you might pray for the willingness to be willing. And as you move into accepting the truth about those things, your light will shine and open up because you are accepting reality. And before it, the illusion and the darkness was not reality. It was just a facade to cover it up. And you can now dispel that illusion into the reality and truth of who you are, knowing as you're moving up the emotional scale, as you come into higher happiness and understanding, compassion, forgiveness, and moving higher and higher into the joy of who you are. You can now act as if you are a joyful person. And you have, each time, those old spiritual vibrations that are dark and dense have left and the new love of God has come in to replace it, you have mastered that emotion. You have replaced it with God's love and grace. And that's mastering your life. And the more emotions that you replace with the love and truth of God, you will move into higher and higher realms where your life will seem to be very bright inside. At one point, Marilyn said, gee, it went from a 50 watt to a 200 watt inside. And those are wonderful breakthrough times when that happens, when the light becomes brighter and brighter in your life inside. And as you see and move into that highest empowering place, you are no longer reacting from the old situations that happened in the past. You now are responding in the love of God, which is, how can I handle this situation the most loving way for myself and for others? And then you have God consciousness. Then you have extended God's love through you to those around you. Then when you look out to others, you're seeing the God in them. And that reflects back to you so you can see the God in yourself. And as you move into that higher, most beautiful, wonderful light of God, you have mastered and overcome the darkness, the illusion, the pain, and the fear, and you are now moving more and more closely into that oneness. And in fifth dimension, that means there is no darkness. You are mastered your emotions. You are living in the love and light of God. There will be unity, cooperation. People will be there to support you in ways that they recognize me. They notice my talent. They're there for me if I need help. I can ask for help, and they're glad to be there and be supportive. Your fifth dimensional experience, I can't even begin to explain in human terms how lovely and blissful that will be. Your body will be totally relaxed and comfortable, and there will be no illness. And there will be no toxic air to breathe. That will be dispelled by the people of in the spaceships are already working on that at this point, so that your air will be supportive of that higher consciousness. The foods will no longer be toxic that are being put out in the markets for you to eat and change, so that they do not have vital nutrients that support your health. Those things are going to be altered gradually. New ideas are going to be coming into medicine, and they'll have it energy medicine rather than drugs. Your energies will continue to be raised. In fact, you can work on that yourself with homeopathic type of remedies at this point that you have now to help come from a non-toxic way of living your life. And your life will be happy and joyous. Happy because you are no longer in the past. Joyous, you no longer have fear. And free from the ego. You will no longer be separated from God. You are being part of God's energy. And the exuberance and the love that you will feel inside and be around you and the people that are in your life will be a huge experience of one family, that everybody's there for each other, and your individuality will be recognized, but your unity will come together to support you all. And you can be yourself. And you can speak your truth. You can speak from your heart. And you will be able to experience that person that you were created to be. And that is mastering your life. And it is only a step-by-step process as you move into more and more of your mastership. And you will start to master that you are creating with that love those things in your life that you truly wanted, because your thoughts are now of loving thoughts, and those loving things will manifest, some very quickly for you. There was a lady who normally comes to these channelings, called Marilyn after visiting with her this week. She says, when I talked to you the other day, and she says, I told you what I was wanting and looking for, and she said, guess what, as soon as I left your house and I went down a particular street, there it was, sitting right on the street. All I had to do was go up and work arrangements to buy it. She was looking for an RV she could afford, and it was sitting right there waiting for her. So you see, those things are going to happen more and more to you. They're going to happen on a daily basis, and you call them miracles, but they aren't miracles. They're your being aligned with Spirit. They have been sitting there waiting for you. Only your vision has precluded your seeing the inheritance that you have in an escrow that's on the other side of the darkness. As you move more and more into the light, your escrow will come more and more into your life. The desires and wishes of things, I would really like this to experience a better way of handling this, or to have this talent and let it manifest in my life, and for other people to enjoy it, and to have it there for my enjoyment and out there for the public, that they can have the benefit of it. So you see, your lives are going to be so different. It will not be a matter of having to go to 8 to 5 job, because your needs will be met. It will be like going through the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord, you might want to rephrase with, the law of love is my shepherd. You see, when you live in love, it's a very wonderful way to guide your life. what is the loving thing to do. So you have the law of love being your shepherd. You cannot lose. It will just get better and better. It enhances and enriches. And the spirit, as it grows, is what the spirituality is about. You want to let it expand. Spirit needs to expand, and that's been the problem in third dimension. It was not allowed to expand and merge with other spirits of other people. You were kept very isolated for many reasons in many ways. If you go through the 23rd Psalm, you will actually find that the valuable lessons that are necessary to move through being a master are there. I shall not want. As a master, you will be able to create anything you need, so your needs will be taken care of by just, your ideas will manifest into supplying those things that you're having to request. So the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. Another thing that's happened in third dimension is people have been kept so busy they don't know how to relax and how to enjoy their lives and how to just have recreation time or just sit and enjoy a good book in the sunshine. Those times are necessary for balance, and as a master you will want balance in your life. So I suggest that you enjoy the green pastures. Leadeth you beside the still waters. It's about stilling your mind, stilling the spirit inside so you meditate. That's your connection. That's what puts you into the higher consciousness, God consciousness. And the more you meditate, if you are not doing it now, I suggest that you expand your meditations to longer periods so that when you get to fifth dimension, which hopefully the sooner you move through these stages, you will be ready for fifth dimension. You will have that consciousness. You will be prepared of how to think and act and be in that God consciousness which you practiced in meditation. Leadeth me through the paths of righteousness. This is a tricky one because the paths you're going through are right for you right now. Even though sometimes you feel those paths are a little painful, you have resistance, that's your ego resisting. I do not want to go through that path. Who would want to go through that situation? I am going to duck it. I'm going to run away from reality, and then you find yourself back in pain and suffering and illness. So embracing those paths that come along, they are the right path. They're the path you designed before you came here. They're the path that's necessary for you to grow. You cannot heal it if you don't experience it. And experiencing the pain as well as the happiness is balance. It's all part of the same energy. And it just will move into higher energy when you finally allow it to express itself. It will dissipate as you express it out to those around you in therapy, counseling, with friends that you trust and feel you can share those things with. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. You have been walking through the valley of the shadow of death, and it is now time to breeze out of that, and you are mastering your emotions to do that. So you see, you do not have to worry about third dimension. It is gone, and you are now moving out of the lower dimensions, moving into higher dimensions, and the staff brings you back into love. If you remember the picture of Jesus with the sheep in his arm and the staff, and he uses the hook to bring back the sheep that's gotten out of the grouping. And that's what love does, brings you back into the grouping that we are. So you do not have to fear. The rod is the strength of God, and that strength and love will bring you into higher consciousness, even though it feels like it's the valley of death. But it is always there, never left and never will. Provide a table for you in front of your enemies. Your enemies are those lower feelings. And to change them is what a master does. You change those feelings and you invite and embrace those feelings, and they're no longer enemies. They come up into being loving energy, and they just blend in and make you a more diversified fulfilled person, your strengths are coming from your weaknesses. Maybe you've heard your weaknesses will become your strengths, and that's what they're talking about. Excuse me for one moment. And as your strengths become more and more so, as you embrace them, you will recognize you always were anointed. Anointed because you are learning to save yourself. And you don't need a savior out there, but you need to save yourself from your lower emotional feelings. And when I'm talking about emotions, I'm talking about the spiritual consciousness inside. And your feelings are your guidance to what that level of emotion is inside. So if you're feeling depressed, then it's time to say, what do I need to do to raise this depression out of my life? What do I need to include God? How can I include more of God into my life to dispel the depression, the separation from God, which is depression? And so as you've done that transformation in your life, you start to realize you feel good inside. That goodness was always there. You've always been an anointed child of God. But you start to feel the innocence of a child. And when it says in the Bible, you will become as children, guess what? The guilt leaves. The shame leaves. The despair, the grief. Those things are leaving so that you can have that childlike innocence of joy and happiness. And you know that you are saved from those lower depths of darkness. And that you are moving into your life the way you were created to be in fifth dimension. Some of you will even actually move higher into higher dimensions, but that is the next agenda that you are facing and walking into at this point. And you will realize your cup runneth over because it never was empty. It never was drained. You gave and gave and gave, and you said, where is it? The lack of, I don't have enough for this, I can't pay that bill, I don't have gas to get where I need to go for work, whatever the lack is, whatever it is, it's always been full, it always has overflowed, and that's your emotional, spiritual escrow. That's what you're moving into, to seeing the abundance that's always been there surrounding you, because your eyes are now open to seeing beyond what's stuffed and covered the reality of God. Now you have broken through, you've had a major breakthrough into reality, and you know that everything has been taken care of exactly like it needed to be for your own soul's growth. It might have been different than someone else's, never compare. Your growth and pattern is truly your own. Every one of you is a distinct part of God's Spirit necessary for that particular situation. So to compare is totally insane. So do not look at others and say, well, they're down the path further than I am. You don't know what's inside and what they've already accomplished. Maybe they have accomplished something you still haven't accomplished. So looking just at yourself and realizing your magnificence and realizing what you have accomplished on planet Earth, and with your accomplishment of becoming a master of your emotions and bringing yourself into this high, magnificent light of God, you are light. You are light, and we're going to have Ariel help you with that. You are the light of God. And sometimes you might even see rays of sunshine. You're seeing that light. You're one of those rays. You have just become more human form. They are there giving you support. They are there shining on you and reminding you of where you come from, the light of God. So enjoy, embrace, and celebrate, and know how far you have come out of the darkness of the last many thousands of years, and you are bringing the planet into a healthy, happy experience, and you are bringing the planet into sanity and life and love. It will be a healthy planet, because as you change, the planet is also changing. You and the planet are all consciousness.